Previously, we discussed how I would select a retrofit for my engines. I now understand how to use the ARB's website to be fully aware of the retrofit options that are potentially available. Is there any other information I need to select the proper retrofit?
Yes, some other information may be necessary. Let me explain. As I mentioned before, after a period of time of engine operation, a DPF will fill up with exhaust particulate, so regeneration is necessary to combust the accumulated particulate. The two types of regeneration are active, which depends on an external energy source to initiate regeneration, and passive, which depends solely on the heat from the engine exhaust to initiate regeneration. If you select a DPF with passive regeneration, in most cases a necessary practice is to data log the engine first to make sure its exhaust temperatures are high enough to support regeneration for the given model of DPF. So simply put, data logging involves a recording of the exhaust temperature data on your engine, while operating during its normal duty cycle to confirm it meets the minimum temperature requirements for the DPF.
How is data logging done?
Well, it's a very comprehensive process. When the retrofit installer visits your facility, you should expect they will perform several tasks. First, they should examine several of the engines that would be data logged to confirm the engine make, model year, and the engine family names. They should also observe the overall condition of your engines to determine if they are in proper state of maintenance that would make them representative for data logging. If you have any engines with bad turbochargers or injectors, leaky exhaust systems, or that are excessively smoking, the installer may not data log the vehicle until the engines and the exhaust systems are in good working order. To help confirm that the engine is in good working order, a smoke capacity test should be performed. The retrofit installer should inquire of you as to whether the engines to be data logged will be operating in their normal routes or duty cycles for a few days during the logging process. They should check with you as to whether any of your fleet's engines ever encounter vastly different duty cycles as part of your business operation. For example, the engines may just be idling all day long on one day, and the next day may be driven on the freeways. As fleet administrator, you must be prepared to give an accurate accounting of the variety of the duty cycles your fleet encounters so that the device manufacturer or installer can data log during these various duty cycles, and thus recommend the proper retrofit devices to you. The installer should ask you how many hours your engines are not in operation each day. Some particulate filter systems require offline regeneration. They are equipped with a heating element that must be plugged in each night to achieve a specified minimum number of hours to regenerate.
I see. I really need to provide the accurate duty cycle information, don't I? I sure wouldn't want to purchase the wrong retrofit device on my engine.
You're right. After you provide this information, the data logging process can begin. The retrofit installer should provide the data logging hardware to be installed on your vehicles. Basically, these are small boxes containing a microprocessor which, combined with a thermocoupler in the exhaust pipe, also known as the temperature probe, the box will record the exhaust temperature versus time over the course of a few days. Some data loggers also record engine speed or other parameters, depending on the needs of the device manufacturer. A retrofit installer will typically install the data logger for you and remove it when the data logging is completed. The thermocouple must be installed no more than 6 inches ahead of the location of the retrofit device. A hole will be drilled and tapped to enable a fitting to be installed in the pipe. Make sure that the exhaust system is intact for this operation. The thermocouple will be placed into this fitting and tightened down. The data logger will then be tested for proper function. It will be left on for the next few days while the engine is operated on its normal duty cycle. After a few days, the accumulated temperature data will be retrieved into a computer provided by the installer, and the data logger and thermocouple will be removed. By the way, when the thermocouple is removed, that fitting and the exhaust pipe must be capped and the exhaust system left intact. The data will then be analyzed to determine if the exhaust temperature meets or exceeds the minimum temperature required by the various retrofit devices that the installer offers for sale. The installer will then recommend which products would be compatible with your engines. If they cannot offer their level 3 devices to you because of low temperatures or any other technical reasons, they must give you a document stating this for your records. They may then offer you their level 2 or level 1 devices, but you cannot purchase these items until you have checked with other manufacturers or installers for other brands of level 3 devices. Also, check what is allowed by the regulations covering your engine application. For example, level 1 devices are not allowed in the off-road regulation. Therefore, refer to the ARB website and the Retrofit Device Verification Database for the other brands of Level 3 devices for your engines. You will have to call those manufacturers and possibly repeat the data logging procedure with them.
So for my on-road engines in particular, there's no way I could just go ahead with the level 1 or 2 retrofits with the first manufacturer?
The state's regulations are very definite. Since Level 3 devices are by far the most effective in reducing PM, they must be installed unless there's no other technical recourse but to install lower level devices. Again, refer to the appropriate regulations for your various types of engines, as there are some exceptions, especially for off-road engines. However, if you are ultimately forced to consider lower level devices for technical reasons, you must evaluate and consider all Level 2 devices first, before resorting to Level 1 devices. Depending on the engine application, some regulations do not allow Level 1 devices to be used, so please check the regulation that covers your engines.
Okay, I can see how important doing the homework and getting the technical data is before I make a purchasing decision. Just curious, what if the installer does not data log my engines or ask the questions about my engine's duty cycles?
You should treat that as a red flag and question the installer very directly as to why they wouldn't need this information. It's very risky to purchase a retrofit system from an installer who does not take the time to acquire this crucial information about your engine. In addition, by neglecting data logging, if an incompatible retrofit is subsequently installed, you will likely face a large hassle with the DPF plugging up frequently, thus causing unnecessary engine downtime. That DPF would likely have to be replaced with a DPF that is compatible with your engine.
I certainly wouldn't want to have that problem. Is data logging always needed?
In some cases, data logging may not be absolutely necessary depending on the type of retrofit being considered. For example, engines that would use DPFs with active regeneration sometimes do not need data logging. In any case, it's up to you to fully understand whether data logging is needed or not before you purchase your retrofit device.
You know, that all makes sense to me. After data logging, what's the next step?
With the recommendations from your device suppliers, you'll make your purchasing decisions and acquire the retrofit devices. A couple of important items to confirm with your installer before you purchase anything are that the installer must provide the retrofit equipment and installation warranties along with an operations and maintenance manual. Regarding the warranties, you'll recall that you'll have to decide whether to have your mechanics install the retrofits or have the retrofit installer handle the job. Now, if you install the devices yourself, you're going to need to have a good relationship with the device manufacturer to make sure that they don't blame any problems or failures of the retrofits on a bad installation. Also, your mechanics will have to be trained by the manufacturers first.
Thanks for the heads up. I'll have to think about who I want to install my retrofit devices.
Alright, when you reach your decision and receive your retrofit devices, they can then be installed. Generally speaking, retrofit installations by an installation facility can be completed within 1 to 2 days for each engine. This installation looks very good, don't you think?
Could be done by the morning.
Here's the DPF, of course, and here's where the exhaust back pressure is monitored.
Inside the cab, here's the DPF alarm that notifies my drivers if anything goes wrong. It looks like the DPF is working well. See how clean the rag is? No soot.
Now let's go over the other items that you should have received for this installation. First, you have your warranties of up to 5 years or 150,000 miles for on-road engines and up to 5 years or 4,200 hours for off-road engines for your retrofit device and the installation. The warranties vary according to the engine application. Your manufacturer will have the specifics about your warranties. These are obviously very important documents as they provide you protection in case of product or installation defects. Second, you have the operation manual. The manual describes how your retrofit functions, what maintenance must be periodically performed, how it is to be cleaned, and some diagnostic and troubleshooting guidance in case any problems crop up. Third, here is a document which formally lists the DECS family name and the date of installation. Depending on the regulatory requirements for your various types of engine applications, you will need to have this info to prove program compliance and for any reporting requirements. Lastly, let's check that the installer has placed your DECS and engine labels properly. Here is the DECS label and here is the engine label. If not identified, a label must have the following information. Labels with this information must be on the device and on the engine or as designated in the executive order for this retrofit. In all cases, the labels must be visible. Some executive orders may specify more precise locations for their labels. Later on, we will discuss in more detail how the ARB and other government inspectors will be paying close attention to these retrofit labels as part of the program enforcement. You will need to make sure that they are installed properly, or else you may receive a citation. Beyond the labels, there are a number of items in a checklist that we recommend you prepare for your engines, and we'll go over that checklist later on.
Well, looks like our job is complete.
The installation is complete and the vehicle is ready to return to service, but keep in mind that engine maintenance must be tracked and performed regularly to ensure that you don't have problems with your retrofit later on. Let's cover that subject next. We'll discuss engine and retrofit device maintenance and the possible problems that can occur if proper engine maintenance isn't maintained.
Be sure to watch the remaining video modules in this series, Emissions Retrofits, What Diesel Fleet Administrators Need to Know. For more information, or if you have any questions, please consult these sources of information provided by the Air Resources Board.